Good evening, everyone. Just downloading the map. The other guys are not here yet, so I'm not sure where we're going to be talking. Before I get this going, you can watch Loading Bar Simulator. Cheers for all the follows. Hey Demon, Stu, Jumbo. Where's Sunny Honey Bunny? He's normally first, he's going to be like 6th. I'm guessing Exterminator went to go eat. Probably. Let's try starting a call and see who we get. Which map am I downloading? The one from the Friday Facts. The one that they made the banner out of.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, I can.
Oh, great.
Oh. I guess Nate Stone went to go eat.
Okay.
It's a big old map, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't even remember the size. 120 megabytes.
I'm nearly there. I'm at 100. Playerbox, thanks for the sub. 1 year hype. Good job that wasn't yesterday. Whew, that would have moved the silo. Thanks for that, buddy. I appreciate it. Ooh, was a close one that here. What resolution was the poster? 72 DPI? That's a good question.
150.
150. Yeah, it should make a good eye-catching display at the PAX thing you guys are going to.
I hear you pretty poorly at the moment, but I guess that's just because of the upload.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Factorio's taken all my download.
Yeah. Oh, they should be on my site as well, so.
Yeah, for some reason Factorio uses upload, I think, as well as download, even though it doesn't technically. Although, also my download speed is really bad at the moment. Well, the game is. It's only downloading at 10 kilobytes a second.
Oh. That's taking a while. We'll get there.
Yeah. But I've got up to 5 megabytes down, so I don't know why it's not using more. ETA 45 minutes? Yeah. It won't be that long as soon as it actually uses the download available.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah, well, we've got like 20% left, so it's not that far off.
Wasn't that an old bug? Where it would diminish to 0. Hello, also.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, get 10 to 0 and then you just have to quit because it would never move. This is like you're only using 0.1 megabytes. I've got 5, you know. It could use a lot more than this. Hey there, Bilka. How you doing?
Reset's complete.
Damon, thanks for the sub. 11 months hype. Cheers for that. Thank you. 1 month to go to get your military pot. It's quite an extensive mod pack we've had to acquire here. I don't recognise most of them.
It's not that large. I mean, most of them are fairly small.
Belt immunity equipment, never heard of that. Cliff deconstruct, I can imagine what that is.
For this base, the immunity equipment is fairly substantial.
Factorio logo, I'm guessing that sticks to Factorio's thing in the top right.
Yeah.
More
Basically,
grid, more radar.
The large metal there. Oh yeah, those are my mods, the more grid, more radar. More grid is just bigger power armor, more radar is just more
Bit
radar.
better radar, yeah. Reach button, squeaky through, and train toggle. What's train toggle?
Reset complete.
You can press a hotkey and it switches between the manual and automatic mode.
I need that in base game.
I think it should be, and it will be.
Just
I'm not sure.
Just put it in now. While we're waiting, just put it in. Just update. 1637. Let's go. Go. I need that.
Yeah.
That is thanks to the sub. 10 months hype even. Thank you. Yeah, train toggle. I need that.
Do you miss Fat Controller? Because it had a hotkey for starting and stopping a train.
I need it had a key for manually automating all trains, and all trains within a. You could group trains. You could turn off all the iron trains, all of the copper or whatever. I need that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying all along.
It's the only thing I miss from Fat Controller.
I think something halfway towards OpenPT would be nice. Something that you can just group them, stop them, manage them, anything.
Yeah.
Just some
If you
folders.
change one of their orders, it changes them all, because that is tedious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you need to add a setting to all the iron trains or whatever, you've got to stand there as they all work their way around.
Yeah.
So on a large network, you'd never find them all.
Exactly.
Inevitably, you'd always miss one.
So are you joining?
I'm ready, but just waiting on Sturm, I think.
Alright.
You said he'd be here shortly. 3 minutes ago.
Wait.
Hopefully exterminate. I think that's what he's doing now. Though he said he only had an hour, and we're 10 minutes into that hour.
Yeah.
It's a perfect stream to fall asleep to. We're waiting here for 2 hours. Well, he just went back to green on Discord.
Here he is.
He's here. Hello.
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 How was your snack?
It was good.
I knew it. I knew you.
I knew it. It's funny how you just knew that's what I was doing.
What do you have?
Raisins and homemade banana bread.
Ooh.
Alright. Having these mods.
Yeah, we've just been demanding one of those mods be put into base game immediately.
Which one?
Train toggle. A hotkey to turn trains from manual to automatic instead of having to use the little slidey button.
That really should be a thing.
Don't you think? Don't you think they should release a new version immediately with that in?
Yeah. I mean, although I've been told that devs don't like hotkeys, but
It should be in 17.
perfect.
I wouldn't state that we don't like hotkeys, but I can imagine that you heard it.
I would have thought instead of obliques, extern would have been cacophonics. It's gonna be like 3 people that get what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't
sorry.
actually.
Sorry, straight over my
No.
head. Empty miner filter on the decon planner. Or empty, or
It's very specific.
yeah, or better still, the when a drill is finished, it just marks itself for deconstruction.
No, I mean, speaking of which, how do you actually deconstruct outposts? I generally just nuke them, so I mean, need selection.
I'm depend if we're at the stage where we still like are not like if we're still building the base, I tend to prune the outpost so the drills can get reused sooner rather than make new ones.
Yeah, that.
When it's if an outpost has been forgotten about or not, or I'll just wait till it's completely finished and then just deconstruct it, pack it up, and
In general, I
move
just
on.
come to the issue that when I want to deconstruct it also deconstructs the roboports and the electricity first, and sometimes there are some things left out, which is just annoying. So
I just use.
I'm trying to avoid having to go there. So that's the thing. I usually do it from map view.
I found your game, but apparently I'm missing a mod reach button.
Yeah, I had to go find it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know. Oh, I just went update mods on the mod portal.
It's not even included for me.
No, it wasn't included in that mod
Weird.
pack. I just grabbed it from the.
Oh yeah, because I got it from the mod portal myself. That's why syncing to the save. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, then I guess I just forgot it in the mod pack. Yeah. Although it's there.
It said I had the wrong version. It said
Yeah, same here.
the server was running a newer version.
But it did auto update, which was nice.
Oh, that's weird.
I had to go to the mod portal and tell it to update all mods.
Yeah, I guess it's just because I had the different file on a different computer, or rather a different version, 002.
When do we get the? You're joining a server that has mods. Would you like to download those mods and then join the game?
Well,
Click
I
yes.
think that's a part of the proper mod portal final version. So.
How long do we have to wait for that?
But I mean, I've been saying that for 2 years now, so
Since multiplayer, then.
eventually, yeah. I'm really spoiled with how well OpenTTD works in this direction. It's just perfect. So. And it should work to a large portion here, very similarly.
I'm like, I think I'm
We
killing his
already
internet.
have
Probably.
Oh yeah, that's like that.
So with the question with the deconstructing thing, what are the chances of getting actual graphics on the 4, items on ground, entity ghost, item ghost, that sort of thing?
100% in 17.
Hooray! It always bothered me though, just 4 crosses.
Yeah. In fact, when you have the map editor, there's not just these 4, but there's 30 of them. So, I mean, all of them are decoratives and things, but we should get rid of all these red crosses overall. But yeah, it's especially annoying when you can't even see the red cross icon in the reconstruction planner. That's just
Oh yeah.
just the fact that you can't tell them apart is annoying, but that's just next level to me.
It always used to drive me insane because I'd have to hover over the tooltip to find out which was what.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't really use them all that often, so every single time I have to read through them. It just so happens that every single time the one that I want is the last one that I actually check. So.
Almost there.
Yep.
That's talking about efficiency right there. You could have been eating while waiting for join.
Well, I didn't know it would take this long to join.
Did you not see
Oh, I
the
thought it
picture of
would
the map?
Well, come on, I bet your map is much larger. Or, in general, the maps that you guys make. Are you there?
Yep, I'm in.
Should I try to unpause it?
Go for it.
I've locked it at 20 UPS.
Oh dear.
I doubt we'll be able to get much higher. So
Really? Oh boy.
normally it's about
Yes.
27-ish for me. So
Well,
I kind of doubt that we'll be able to keep it up in multiplayer easily.
and here's the crazy thing. Based on what you told me, I think
Yeah.
isn't 20 of the UPS going just to the circuit network?
5 milliseconds, yes. 5.4.
Oh my gosh.
In fact, vast majority of it is constant combinators, but yeah. Or constant. The
I
decider.
thought they got optimized.
Well,
They did.
when you use 6,000 of them, there is.
You should submit this map to the devs so they see if they can optimize it.
Just send it to our seating over and over again until he fixes it.
To fuck off. Anyway, there's a chest with power armors for you guys to take.
Oh, perfect.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
now
man,
we can
look at
run
that.
around like it's fine.
Power armor inventory.
Yeah,
Well,
Goes
great.
off the screen.
yeah, not it. Obviously.
I bet even at this speed, the external will die to a train.
Actually, he shouldn't be able to. It's quite an achievement, but
But it's
Well,
exterminator and trains.
there's enough shields that you can survive a full hit. Well,
I have a train that could test that.
Oh wow, the thing's in the game, the logo?
yeah, of course, it's a mod.
I didn't know that.
It's an 8 megabyte mod.
Wow. I'm gonna get one of these.
Okay. So, oh, by the way, it's automated on top left. Because, yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. In general, the base automates every single recipe in the game, including the modded one. So, the logo and stuff like not deconstruction planners, but like the remotes for the artillery shells and everything. Literally every single one.
Jeez. I guess I should start my recording here. On my end. 1 second. Alright. Start in 3, 2, 1. Hey there, and welcome to an awesome base tour. This is the base from the Friday Facts, and we are being given a personal tour by the creator of it, V over here. How you doing?
Hello, I'm pretty good.
Hello. And we're also joined by Mojo, who ran off somewhere, and Will.
Hi.
Hello. Can I fix stuff yet?
Don't touch anything.
Oh.
So this is crazy. You were saying that this automates every single item in the game?
It does.
Oh my goodness.
I don't even know where to start.
Not only that, but it's actually capable of producing quite a lot of, especially some of them. Like, it generally doesn't have multiple assembling machines for some of the things, like roboports, but overall it was enough to build everything, like including the solar farms and stuff.
Wow.
Just Just a sec. The iron plate, 200,000 a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, from this. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it does like over 1,000 science per minute, I think, right?
It's about 1.4k max. On average, it's about 1.3 because there's some minor issues, but it's about 1.3k per minute, and about 400 of that, or 3 to 400, comes from this base cluster alone.
Oh my
So
god.
the 1000 is like from the outer factories. We'll get there later. We'll talk about that too. But basically, this base is just for the starting science, which was the 3 to 400 SPM right now, and all of the final products. So roboports, robots, solar panels, belts, everything. And obviously the laboratories with the rocket launching, space science, things like that.
This is just unbelievable.
So in general, how it came to exist is very similar to the last factory that I showed you. Like, for example, green circuit station right here where I'm standing. It's just there used to be a production line for green circuits. Eventually, I just replaced it with a train station because the train station is able to import much more per minute than the production line was supplying. So the same logic applies basically for every circuit. So blue, red, green, and some other things like plastic, batteries, and lastly, obviously, also the science packs. That's basically how it's able to like keep up the throughput without like having to just rebuild whole parts of the factory. That's basically how it's able to actually maintain this kind of super organic shape.
Wow. This is like I'm just trying to follow some of these belts and I just lose them.
I'm just trying to find somewhere to stand.
And be
Yeah,
happy
that
that
too.
you have the belt immune equipment because that obviously helps a lot. Like when you constantly misclick when you build anything just because the belt started carrying you away, then yeah. Without the belt immunity equipment, it's just infuriating. So.
Wow.
Um,
So this is like how I mean you kind of explained in the Friday facts, but I mean did you purposely tried to build like this, right? I mean this doesn't just happen on its own usually.
No. I mean, I generally just built like this normally. Like this is normal to me. But the thing is that I just built for long enough until this really happens. Because you just take another belt and weave it through it, then you take another one, then you feel like it's already impossible, but you still find a way, and then you still find a way 3 other times. It's really just about tenacity and just endurance. And just spend time, and it just eventually works out like this.
Just works out like this.
I've just upset. I've just upset Brome. I put the power network on. And I'm showing him around the base.
Oh jeez.
Oh,
Power
the power line grid overlay.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
Let's just turn that off.
Yeah.
I would recommend it if you are a reasonable person.
What's the pollution
Right.
like? Oh my god, the pollution.
I do have one issue though with the power grid.
Yeah?
Green circuits, it's too grid-like.
That's your
It
problem.
stands out.
I
Yeah.
mean, the large production cells.
Yeah. So everything else, it's nothing aligns to a straight line, whereas the green circuits, everything's a straight. Almost everything's a straight line.
Some of the low density structures are quite up there. But yeah, I understand.
So I'm really curious because we're running at 20 UPS. It's capped at that, but we probably can't go much higher. And you said, and we can just look here, that like 5 millisecond of the update, which is a lot of UPS, is going to the circuit network. What are you doing with the circuit network on this map?
Well, there's multiple things. The first of them is that when you zoom out, obviously you see a crap ton of solar cells. So the first thing that it's actually probably not taking the most of the UPS, but it's something, is that there's a few combinators at each cell which are trying to determine if the cell needs supplies and calls trains eventually. So I think that's one thing. But there's kind of a few of them, but if you multiply it by 380, basically just climbs up. But the other thing, which I find pretty cool, is that I call it supply fleet, which, let's just go somewhere. Like if you look at, I don't know, some green circuit cell, for example, in the top right, it will have a specific, like, rail station consisting of like 6-7 lines, not 6. So these are the automatic place which just automatically checks if the cell needs any supplies and follows the type of train. And it's kind of fancy because it can unload with just one inserter while never deadlocking if the cargo wagon doesn't have one specific item. And it reads from the logistic network as well and stuff like that. And then I'm also doing things like reading storage tanks a lot. So I think that's another thing. I'm also reading chests a lot. In general, I'm reading a lot of things. Basically, every single pickup station has reading. Every single... Yeah, mainly there. So I think that's the biggest eaters. But, well, there's many other points. But honestly, the UPS is less important to me. In fact, I don't really care that it's not 60, as long as I perceive the game as still being not super tedious and still fun. That's
right,
all right.
exactly.
And that brings me like to the mods used. Like one of the mods is the huge power armor grid. I actually don't know, like if you right click your power armor, you can see that it's glitched out. It's just because the mod isn't activated correctly. Apparently the mod settings aren't there. The same with the radar ranges. You can see that I have a lot of holes between radars, which should basically be all revealed. But well, let's not worry about that right now. We will all have to reconnect. But the point of the power armors is that if you suddenly have a lot of exoskeletons, a lot of shields, and a lot of robo parts, then you don't really care that the game actually runs 3 times slower because you yourself run 3 times faster. So, like, unless you really look specifically that, oh, this inserter is moving a bit too slowly, it's not really a problem. And actually, under 60 UPS, I feel like the things move a bit too fast now when I see them because I got used to it so much. But as long as it's fun, I don't really care.
Yeah, I can. But my Omega base was at 15 UPS. You get used to it. But I didn't run.
I mean, I can understand that. So, Mojo took a ride without us, and I'm looking. He went to one of these stations. I'm noticing that you're. Oh yeah, I'm noticing you're reading like a ton of signals here. What are you doing with these?
Yeah. You mean the loading station where Mojo just was?
All the rail signals, like on these rails into it.
The ones on the right.
Yeah.
From the
one with a chain starting and then
the...
a sequence of regulars.
Oh, these things. Okay, so let's get to probably the most interesting thing on this whole map. So, okay, so far you've probably just noticed the central factory and the mass and stuff. But the one thing that's like systematically completely different from what I've seen before is that all of the trains, for example, for green circuits or copper plates or iron plates or anything, they all share the same station name. So there is nothing like green circuits 1, green circuits 2. It's just green circuits. And the way how this is controlled is by reading the waiting base, which are the link signals. And if a train is waiting there, I log one or many signals, it depends which design is used there. And that gives the other trains so much pathfinding penalty that they try to go elsewhere. So it's basically automatically distributing over the whole map, which goes super hand in hand with the grid system of the rails because they can just easily go anywhere they want.
Wow, very interesting. That's really cool that you're using the Pathfinder penalty.
Yeah, that's something that I find this map to be just really good at because it works really well. There are some dangers, like for example, I'm using two layouts. You can find one which is using combinators, and the other one just has two big poles and lamps. The difference is that the ones with combinators have one signal log, which is enough in general, and I was actually using that for the vast majority of the game, and it works fine. But when you obviously have to get larger distances, it's kind of dangerous because it's possible that the penalty isn't enough, so too many trains start waiting at one place instead of the other. But it's alright. The other design looks like 17 signals or something like that, so there the penalty is completely insane. And the issue can start being that with a one-way system, the trains can start pathing through other stations if they see a station which has less signals logged. So it would be better to use these in general because it's safer, because the differences between the penalties is larger. But I think the two-way system would be almost a prerequisite for that.
Okay.
And that kind of gets me to the other point, that this whole network is using both single-headed and dual-headed, just because, yeah, variety.
Wow.
This
Why
is
not?
mostly just because I kind of wanted to do the single-headed system for the brick, because I feel like it makes more sense there, because the trains almost never really need to turn around, because they just go inside of the cells. But for the main base, I really, really wanted to do the dual-headed trains, so that's where they are. And you can also notice that the base, like the central cell, has different train group or train orders than the the main production on the edges, on the large production cells. So that's the only separation. But other than that, all of them, for example, iron plate, use the same orders.
Okay. This is just crazy. I'm just like super overwhelmed.
Yeah, if you want to see something pretty cute, then you can follow me here to top left. And here is a very specific station. It's one of a kind on the map. And what this does is that it's an import station for the rocket parts. Obviously, you can see them unload there.
Mhm.
But at the point where I actually started launching rockets, I already had basically everything around here built. And here I think was a red circuit set up or something like that. Well, the point is that I didn't have space for 3 stations, I just had a space for 1. So what I did is that on the left here you can see a lamp, and it alternates between red, green, and yellow. And what that shows is that the inserters, the stack filter inserters, are unloading one specific type of item at a time. And they do it in a cycle. So it never deadlocks, it always works. And it supplies the silos with all the 3 components. And yeah, I've designed it myself and I'm pretty proud of it. I find it pretty cool. One of the things that actually makes it work evenly is that the wagons have only 36 slots. So every inserter, obviously divided by 6, every inserter grabs exactly 6 times. So there's no, because with the 40, 4 of them would get another round and it wouldn't
Right.
be equal. So
This is actually really cool.
there are some extra conditions, like I think 3 or 2 of them, to just make it always work, because you need to wait until all the inserter hands are empty, and you need to make sure that every chest has something, and you need to check for the contents of the chests in order to let the trains in, things like that. So the combinators below the station are for separating the signal from the chest and from the reading of the hand of the inserter, because otherwise the signal would merge, and well, I couldn't do much with that then,
Mhm.
I think. Yeah. So, well, that's that.
Couldn't you have just done one item per wagon?
Easy solution.
That is not the cool solution, man.
I could have done other things, but at the same time, like, one input per wagon wouldn't be so easy either, because then, well, I guess it would work, yeah, but, you know. There's 4 things, and
It's the non-smart way of doing it. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, there's 4 wagons and 3 things, so. Other than that, all of the stations are pretty normal. Like this, the one which imports the science specs here is trying to be a little bit smarter, just because it has the 4 inserters to one half belt with the splitters so that they unload evenly. But that's really all there's to it. There's not anything much more specific. But I find really cool that there's all these special loading stations like here for the artillery, and there on the left is one of the supply fleet trains and things like that. So the whole base is kind of nicer that way, with just random trains hanging out and eventually leaving, coming.
I mean, you say nicer. I would call it like a death trap. But in all seriousness, this is really cool having these just in the
That's why you
base.
have
Like,
the shields. I mean, you can try just stepping in front of the train. You won't die.
right.
Please tell me you
Yeah,
disabled. Please tell me you disabled it for external so you kill him.
I know, Joe, let's do it.
This is where
Gotta
if
play
it,
chicken.
if it only kills external, he's gonna walk away.
I was gonna eat, man. I don't think the train will go anytime soon, though.
Wait for
Oh,
it.
it will. It will. It will
Wait
become
for
200
it.
more rockets
Wait
on
for
Thursday
it.
night.
Wait for it.
Ish.
Yeah.
So that's the 31. There we go. See? Alright.
Dude, I'm
Yeah, if you're
invincible.
staying there
Wait.
for long enough.
Can I get one of these on all your maps, Will?
I'd like to test it against a particular train that I have in
Oh
mind.
god, no, not that one.
Yes, that one.
By the way, the train wasn't at full speed, but even if it was, it still wouldn't kill you. By the way, one more interesting thing that I haven't really seen built anywhere else is the lab layout. Because it takes 6 ingredients. It doesn't need 7, obviously. But it can do full 8 beacon layout, which I haven't really seen before. Like, people
Oh,
do
wow.
12 beacon layouts, which actually is easier because for a 12 beacon you have more space for belts. But the 8 beacon specifically, which is I think the most space efficient,
Mhm.
actually I haven't really seen this before. And it's also awesome, like if you look at the bottom, because there's another lab section here, that you can actually change which sand specs are visible, like between the rows, which I find just really cute. But yeah, it's a small thing. I just like it.
This is really interesting. I had not thought of doing this, and I couldn't figure out a way
Yeah.
to do 8 beacon. But this is
Yeah,
perfect.
I don't think I will actually use any different layout for a long time now.
Yeah, this works really well.
It's too bad there's no military packs.
Yeah, I actually was researching military packs, but I was using a different layout at that point, and I just got a few of the artillery shell upgrades, and then I just didn't bother with military anymore. But yeah. Oh, as you've probably noticed, this game is actually with biters. It was the Death World setting of 016, but I think there was some. The Death World wasn't as much of a Death World as it used to be before. It was actually somehow broken. I think now it's fixed-ish. But
Yeah, I noticed that. It's not generating the big spawns that it used to.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was actually complaining about that 3 days ago.
Yeah, we were complaining about it too recently. I
Yeah.
liked it the other way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you
It's
want-
like when you get to this stage and then you just clear some area, it's like constantly small base, small base, small base, and they are also so close to one another that you can't really stop. Like once you start, you just attract the other base and the other base and the other base. And like with this power armor, you don't really care because you can just run away and they just stop pursuing you eventually. But in a normal game, it's kind of annoying. But yeah, whatever. It's a small thing.
My chat pointed out there's a train no pathing over here. Is it broke?
Of course. No, it's fine. It's because it's one of the supply fleet trains. The supply fleet basically only unlocks stations if some station actually needs the supplies.
Okay.
So currently no
Okay.
station needs supplies, train stays here.
Perfect.
Also, chat wants to
I'm
know
using
where's the
a
nukes.
similar system for the solar cells. The solar cells are actually fairly specific because they are using a 2-stage system. First I built, they call it the primer, which is basically the cell without accumulators and the panels. And most importantly, the combinator settings are actually different. So first I build the primer, and it calls the train to import items. Let's say it imports about exactly as much as it needs to build the full cell. So then the train arrives, it unloads the supplies, and it sounds an alarm with the sound combinator, or the, how we call it, the programmable speaker. And yeah, it just announces, hey, you can paste the full cell now. And what then happens is that I just paste the whole cell, and it reduces the request that it actually makes from the train network, so that it isn't like trying to store another worth of another cell, because it's never going to use it. Once it builds the full cell, that's it. It doesn't really do anything else. So there, it just keeps some minimum that I need for it, but trying to be kind of conservative, but don't try this concept. It's pretty stupid. it's very wasteful. Like, it's a lot of fun for me because basically all of these solar cells are built when I'm traveling on the train somewhere. So from the map view, I can just build these, so I don't really waste time actually having to go somewhere like that. So in like player time-wise, it's very efficient. But in everything else, it isn't.
Yeah.
By the way, come to the logo. I'll show you one thing.
I'll get there eventually. I can make it.
So, if you look carefully, there's like a whole lot of belts which kind of lead through the logo. So
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm going to show you how this actually works. Because the logo doesn't collide with belts, it just collides with one tile. So the whole logo is actually belt junction.
Oh, this is great.
There you go.
Just like
More
hiding
belt.
part of the belt.
Yeah.
Just what we needed.
Because-
More belts.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because originally there was train stations for import of some things, and then I had to move them because we obviously wanted to put the logo there. So I needed to somehow bring the things into the base again. So I just made it not collide with anything except the central tile, and there you go.
This demon. Just hide your base in there. Yeah, you can just build
Just hide the
a
base in
huge
all
logo.
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah.
It looked weird when you pulled them up because there was a hole in the base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty weird, but well, probably not something that everybody's going to build regularly.
Oh yeah, if you wanted to find the nukes, just follow the belts of uranium.
Here, there you
Good
go.
luck.
Well, here's one. Oh, we found it.
Found them. Alright, Jack. Let's go.
Don't you dare.
It's the only way to
Don't
fix
touch
it.
Will.
It's the only way to fix it.
I'm just gonna follow this uranium all the way back. This is like a treasure hunt.
Yeah, it was.
I followed the
There's
speed
a lot
1
of
modules
cells
just
like
now.
that. And for example, here where you stand next to me, there's actually well, we would need a blue circuit train to come, apparently somewhere, being lazy. But as you can see, with the electric furnaces, and here, there is a splitter just above you, and it's supposed to merge blue circuits onto the belt. So I'm actually getting blue circuits through here, and then they go towards the satellite production. So I'm actually using the belt sides for multiple purposes. Like first it goes to the furnaces, then just half continues with the furnaces and blue circuits, and the blue circuits continue further. So
That's
Just-
really, really cool to use these filters like that.
yeah, and I used it the same way originally, like just with the underground splitting and stuff. Obviously now it's just more convenient and possibly smaller. So
Mm-hmm.
in general, I feel like using both sides of the belt is something that's really essential for me. It's just makes it both look nice, and also just with all these little tricks that you can do, sometimes you can just save space and build something that you just couldn't, which obviously with this kind of a mess everywhere is necessary.
Right. Finally found the uranium.
Very big Kavorax.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, well, I needed it for when I was starting the nuclear fuel production. Oh, it's actually still running. And I was using the nukes maybe a bit more than I should have. So. That's where it
There's
went.
no,
such
there's no
thing.
such thing as too much
Nope.
when it comes to nukes and artillery.
Fair point. Alright. So yeah,
Actually,
here,
there's more nuclear fuel production than
this
enrichment
like,
there.
part in the bottom left. Obviously, as you've noticed already, it's not natural. I made the terrain with the map editor. It's pretty cool. But most important, here was actually a factory. Like this was a base just for more solar production. And then I eventually rebuilt it to be different, just so that it fits the terrain better. And well, basically, I needed the solar panels again. But yeah, I had to kill that just so that we could make the screenshot nicer. Oh.
Wow.
Oh yeah, did you also notice that all the solar cells are at their own robo network?
Yes, they are.
With their own
Oh,
train
yeah.
stations.
And
Yeah,
their
each
own
one has
train
its own space station.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, because in the previous map that I was playing, I had like one huge logistics cell with like, I don't know, 30,000 logistic robots and like all the solar panels and 30,000 construction robots, and it took forever to build because obviously they had to travel across the whole network. So in here I did the exact opposite, where every roughly 1,000 of solar panels has their own cell. So yeah, there is about 380 of them.
Wow.
It's like, I find it pretty cool. I spent quite a bit of time designing the layout, and it's like it's perfectly rotational to the like bare cell of the grid, so that I can actually rotate it in any direction. It fits the grid perfectly. So yeah, it was pretty fun,
Yeah, this is a really, really neat layout, this solar.
and it also looks like a sun. So well, there you go.
Oh yeah, that just wins right there.
Yeah, obviously, it's the main reason.
Well man, I kinda wanna go on a train ride somewhere. I don't
Oh,
know about you
just
guys, but
meet me here. I have a passenger train right here.
just don't let Will drive.
Well, we will let it do automatic things, right?
Yeah.
I'll drive.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. Don't
I
you
think
We'll
I'll
get
walk.
we'll get there faster.
You may lose a few trains.
Alright, so how about we go just to a random green circuit place? Because in general, like all of the large scale production cells look kind of the same. It's just a square with 12 beacon layouts in the middle, and just train stations and belts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we just go to the few, it's really covering basically everything, because then the differences are fairly minor. It's mostly just about the ratio of the production and trying to somehow balance the belts so that they split correctly. And there's also the eternal issue that when I'm picking up with some 3-wagon and some 4-wagon trains, you constantly need some rebalancing of the pickups. It's just a pain. Well, no, it kind of works out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well enough. And there you go. So now we are actually arriving at the supply fleet stations. So yeah, if we just take some supplies from any of the chests, you can try yourself. It will automatically call the trains for bringing new supplies. So if I pick up, for example, this, you can see that the light turns on. That means that this station is on. So you see that this green station is on right now, and this yellow one as well. And the trains from the main base have been deployed to go here.
Oh man, that's so cool.
It's really cool, but once you get to some stage of the map, it's kind of too slow, because it takes like minutes for the trains to get here if you are at the edge of the outposts. So for that, it would be better to use like a normal engineering long train that you just load a lot of supplies on, and then you just use them from it manually. But it's a cool system. And also here on the right, where I'm standing, there is a constant combinator. So if I turn it on, it will turn all the lights on, or at least it should. Okay, never mind, just turns red. And it will call all the trains. So it manually overrides all the stations and it calls them all. There is one detail that's very specific to this. Oh, two. Well, many. But one of them is that when the cell has no power, it still works. So that the stations call when they have zero, basically, or something like that. Oh, no.
Really?
Well,
So-
regardless, it works when it has no power. So it automatically calls the train. The other thing is that, like, for example, how would I call it? Okay, so one thing. Here you have the artillery turret. And basically the only real reason why to use the artillery turret here is like a detection for biters.
Mhm.
So if there is enough ammunition in the storage chest, then obviously there's no biters around and it doesn't need a military train to come here. So then the train comes, it uses its own artillery turrets and stuff, and it shoots everything, then goes away. But the point is that the artillery turret to me is actually just a detector. That's basically how I use it everywhere. So basically the artillery train is something that delivers the shells, but the turret is what says, okay, this outpost needs shells, come now. Because otherwise you would need to have the artillery train go to all the outposts one by one, and if inactivity is something, then go to the next one, which would obviously take a lot of time once you have a lot of outposts. But here it's automated by the way that it knows if the outposts need it or not.
Right. That's a really interesting way to use it, for sure.
Yeah. To me, that's the main use for it, honestly, because
Yeah.
the wagon is kind of. I mean, it's the same as the wagon on rails if it just stop and if you just put it to the wagon. So there's no serious difference there. But
Mm-hmm.
in fact, I could have just used another wagon here, but no, it would look silly here, and you can't automate building it. So
Yeah.
all right. So now if I just release the lock and just disable the constant combinator again, you can see that the trains just automatically leave. They just go back home to refill.
Nice.
So, for example, when I would be building this cell at the beginning, I would lock it so that I always have the supplies to take from them manually. And if I discover that some of the trains, I don't know, runs out of modules or something, I just manually send it home or send all of them by the lock again. And
Right.
then
I like how this random copper trains just decide to drop by as well.
oh yeah, it also works in this case as an exit for the copper trains and for something else. Oh yeah, iron plate.
So it is. Project where this train just suddenly appeared.
Yeah, it happens in many other places too. Other than that, like the green circuit layout, I mean, honestly, it's nothing special. It's just belts going into assembly machines. Honestly, I'm pretty disappointed how easy it is to make a 12 beacon layout compared to, well, this is technically 10 beacons because it's, you know, each of the product something.
Right.
But normally when I make 12 beacon layouts, it's so much easier to make than the 8 beacon layouts, which is honestly, well, kind of weird. But at the same time, there's nothing to change about that. So that's how it is. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, also one more thing. The whole cell, right, I'm not sure if this one. Yeah, okay, never mind. But in general, the red-blue circuits, the rocket parts, and science bases have power switches, so that from the main base I can just turn all of them off easily, or like per type. So, for example, when I expanded some of the steel outposts on the far top left, I added a lot of beacons, and I kind of thought that I don't know, 250k solar panels, I just couldn't run out of energy. Well, I did. So I actually needed to do a lot of like kind of wild measures really quickly, which was obviously at first to just cut off anything that doesn't contribute to producing accumulators or the solar panels, so rocket parts and science bases were the first to go.
Mhm.
And I was kind of thinking that I don't have to do that again because suddenly the accumulators couldn't survive for half night and the biters had a lot of fun at the outposts. So I just made a quick system that I could disable anything I really fast. In fact, I'm not sure if you're aware, but if you just paste or like place a blueprint from the map view on top of a combinator, it changes its settings. So I can actually turn everything off just with one blueprint from the map view. So I don't even have to go back to base. I can really do it immediately.
Oh wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
So then here's another feature request. if blueprints can do that, blueprints should be able to like put module requests into machines, right? So if you have machines and you take a
Yeah.
blueprint where there's modules in it and put it over it, it should request the modules in.
Yeah. They should. Yeah.
I just figured that it's worth mentioning again.
I think
Yeah,
I have it
that would have been
on my
useful.
list as well, but I'll just write it down again because you can't have it too many times.
There you go. Thank you.
And one more cool thing at this station is basically how I have all of my loading stations. So obviously, as you can see in general, it's just balancer going into more balancers, and then it just takes it to the chests.
Mhm.
But the thing that I find interesting about it is that it's trying to reach like each wagon, like each group of chests of the 12 chests, and it reads their cargo. It divides it by some number. So in this case, it is 200 because the stack size of the circuit is 200.
Mhm.
So you get actually the number of stacks. So when it's above 40, it lets the train in. But only if all of the clusters for the chests have more than 40. Because when you either have uneven loading or uneven like picking up from the trains, which means that the 3-wagon and 4-wagon trains, it's very easy that, for example, as you see here, the last segments don't actually have anything. And that can be a really big issue eventually because it just lets the train in because all of the chests in total would be above some threshold. But obviously all of the circuits would be piled up in 1 or 2 chests and the train would just be there forever loading from 2 chests alone. But this actually makes sure that the train only enters if all of the 4 wagons are able to load. Which is really nice, and also I can use it for any item because I use the division by the stack size. So I just put it there, and if it's for iron plates, I just change the 200 to 100. There you go. And obviously the item filters for the inverters, but that's really fast to do. So it's very, very blueprintable. So it helped me a lot to make a lot of things.
Very nice.
I think
And
I
that's
need my
honestly
flamethrower.
mostly it for this cell. It's really not much else. And
Yeah.
see the locking system for the rails here.
Mm-hmm.
So I've described it to a lot of detail in the Imager album. I'm not sure if you see it, saw it. But
Yeah, part of it.
basically what happens is that if if none of the signals are green or something like that, then it blocks all of the signals to red. So if I just make an artificial train here and send it, let's see if I can find something. Okay, whatever. Circuits. Okay, there we go. Fill. So obviously it's not going to do much. But now when it stops, you can see that the lights turn on. When the lights turn on, it means that the signals are actually locked. So now it's sending the full huge penalty to all the trains. I'll just let it go because well, I'm not evil. And also I hate it that it's come 3 times. But there you go. Like now when it unlocks, it's going to release it and it works. Another thing is that when trains just go randomly through it, you know what, let's go to a science station. I think there should be more train density than here. But overall, when the trains actually go through it, they just don't stop, they don't slow down. Where with the other design that I had, they were actually slowing down, which is kind of annoying and fiddly. because I had to like get correct amount of signals to lock when the other things shouldn't, and it wasn't doing too great.
Right.
But this one is very stable, and also you can easily remove signals from this array. So you can very precisely specify how many signals do you want exactly for your trains to use as a penalty, which is just much more controllable if you want to use it in some other map or something. So I think this is a good design. The other one wasn't really. All right, so this is the science cell. Obviously, this is suddenly a much larger cell. It imports many more items or item types. This one specifically produces red, military, and high-tech science packs. So obviously the military is basically off. So it's just red and yellow. You can see that a lot of the train stations are really, really rough. They're just like diagonal wagons and stuff like that, just because I couldn't fit it anymore. Because I was generally trying to fit everything in a 8x8 chunk, which is like 2x2 squares for the grid system.
Right.
In general, you can see also here the signals or the lights are turned on, so you can see that the signals are locked.
Okay.
So basically, no trains will try to go here until every train is waiting at every station, like at least in 2 bays. So. Other than that, like this isn't really something super specific. The cell is made so that it makes about 1,000 cents per minute. So there's just one of these. Obviously, if I wanted a base which made 2,000, I would just duplicate this in any place on the whole grid. And that's where the whole base basically takes its expandability. Like whenever I need anything, I just duplicate the cell and the trains will automatically go there based on the station names. And the position is almost irrelevant. Well, that's not completely, but almost. So it's really easy to expand, but obviously now it's at some point of UPS where I don't really want to go further, and I honestly don't really care about the number that much either. So it doesn't really feel interesting to me because conceptually it's really just duplicating what I already have.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's not really anything new at that point.
Yeah. It would obviously force some changes to the main base for the importing station of the science, because currently it only takes half a belt, so it would need to take full. I would be kind of ready for it. It would still be hard to fit it, but I believe I would be able to. But, well, I'm not going to try, so there you go.
Man, this is just super cool. I love it. This is amazing. I want one.
One
Base.
I want a base like this.
Well, I mean, just build it.
I just can't. I can't build like this. Not with all the spaghetti and stuff. My mind is so locked on like organization and straight belts.
This is not attached anymore. It's obviously not needed. I can't bring myself to leave it. I'd have to tidy it up. I couldn't walk away from it.
Embrace the lazy.
Yeah.
It's not about lazy. It's just that when I see something so clean, I'm just not attracted to play it because I don't feel like it's hard for me. It's just
Right.
I need the difficulty. I need to see something that is my base and it's clearly my base, because if it's too easy, then
You should do a ribbon world next. This.
I was actually considering that at some point, but I never really did. Right, so should we go to another place?
Yep.
Yeah, I have time for one more cell, I think, and then I might have to run.
All right.
Running
Honestly,
right now.
there isn't much else to cover, so because we've really described most of the systems. Probably one of the last ones that I could tell you about is the. Oh, let's go to other science. But the one other detail is that I'm also using artillery outposts, basically because of that Jeff Grove thing. But yeah. In general, all over the map, you can see just on the straight rails, randomly there is like a percent artillery station. All of them are disabled currently, obviously, but they are there. So
Oh yeah.
it's just a really simple cell. Obviously, the artillery turret is there again just for detection, so it knows when the train should actually come. So I can afford to have this many of them, and I just need one artillery train, and that's enough. There's obviously a lot of laser turrets. Honestly, I didn't actually care about walls on this map, so I don't even have walls. But that's basically it. And the interesting thing that I wanted to mention about this is that when this doesn't have power, the station doesn't work. And this is important, because if it worked, then the wagon would come, or the artillery train would come, and it would start killing everything, and the station itself and the train would actually obviously get eaten. So it's important to recognize between those two things, like that the supply fleet does work when it doesn't have power, and the artillery thing doesn't. And this is because of the conditions of the, everything and anything work differently, and they have zero inputs with no electricity, stuff like that. But it's really cool to just work with these little details and just fundamentally change the way how it works, because otherwise it would be really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
This is our map now. There's Ducky.
It looks like you have a bit of a friend over here. We've taken over your map now.
It's ours now. We put our stamp on it. Okay.
We marked our territory.
It's ours now.
Alright.
It actually fits in kind of nicely.
I'll keep it. No, I'm not going to save this game. But, I can say that I keep it. By the way, basically in the lake under it, you can see the power switch. It's the control room, basically.
So we have Ducky power switch now.
Yeah, there you go.
He has a railway line going through his head though.
It's not the first time that's ever happened.
No.
Other than that, there's also a remote refinery right with the main base. It's kind of really messy, and I've been meaning to redesign it many times, but I just didn't as well. Just duplicated it instead and just let it do its thing. But it's not that great. Alright, so we're approaching the Science B, as I call it. This one is for green, blue, and purple science packs. So it's running more often than the other one, because obviously the science packs are both more expensive and there's 3 of them active instead of 2.
Right.
I think it also uses more different ingredients and stuff, so it's actually larger. This one is really a pain to build. Like a lot of the tracks are like back and forth and crossing each other. Really, finding the position for a station is sometimes really tough. The fluid wagon here train in here, which is unloading lubricant, is using like a 3-stage system, so it unloads to the same tank, but it lets the first wagon empty, then the second one, then the third one. So it has 3 stations for that. I don't think there's actually a real reason to do that. But
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, other than that, honestly, not much specific. It's like there's obviously a lot of balancing, a lot of things going on on the inputs, but other than that, it's just another one of these cells.
Right. And this is I'm looking at this like junction over here. This is a pretty crazy.
Stand in the middle of it.
Yeah, just like a spaghetti of rails here.
Yes. Oh yeah, one more thing. In the main base, when I have, for example, the green circuit importing station, obviously there eventually comes a time where I need more than one train to come to that station, just because of the throughput that I need. And obviously the distance and also the probability that some of the trains is kind of stuck at some of the green circuit outposts waiting for load. So what I did later on was that I'm actually using a waypoint. You know what, let's go back to the main base. Probably going to be the most important one. this point. And what I do there is that I have a waypoint, and all of the green circuit trains need to go through a waypoint. So they basically wait before the base, or in front of the base, and then when the station actually requests it, they actually go inside of the base and drop there, but one by one. So I can actually afford to have all these different kinds of stations, and it would still work.
Okay, cool. So it's just like a little wait area or a stacker.
For example, on the left of the base, in the green areas, you can actually see 4 of them just waiting. They're just on the rails there. The tracks in there don't actually lead to anything else from the grid, so they can just stand there. It's basically a stacker on a normal network. Kind of a mess, but I mean, it works fine. Do you see it?
Yeah, I do. I see these guys sitting here.
Yeah. And I use the
Pretty
same
cool.
on the right side for batteries and sand. So again, the train doesn't actually block traffic inside, but it's actually waiting until it's actually needed.
Right.
Also, we're just passing cell on the left, which is the solar retransfer, I call it. That's to speed up the solar farm for building, because when I plop down the blueprint, what happens is that the solar delivery train starts going between them, and if it always went back to the base, it would be a bit slower. So in here, it just goes from the retransfer back and forth to the new blueprint, which is obviously faster, and mainly I can use multiple trains to deliver to the retransfer cell easily, so that I can feed it faster.
Very cool.
Yeah, honestly, it's not that useful because I built 3 of them, and the distances from the solar cells were still very large, but it okay. Oh, the blue circuit train still hasn't arrived. That's quite weird.
Uh-oh.
I'm just waiting there or something. I should actually come soon. Okay. As you can see from the production graph, if you look at the, let's say, 10 hour or something, and you filter only science specs, you can see that there's a lot of drops, and it's basically not very stable. But on average, it still does decently, but it's the stability is pretty bad. At some point, I almost had sustained 1.4K for 1 gameplay hour. Well, I don't know what happened. Something's weird now.
Sometimes things just kind of glitch out.
That's one kind of disadvantages of the whole super automatic train redistribution system, where it just has all the stations for the same name. That sometimes you really need to overkill on the lower level items before you get to the higher levels. That's just so that they distribute evenly and it still works correctly. But I think overall it should still work well enough, but it's possible that I just have some bottleneck somewhere right now and I'm just not aware of it. But, well, there's always a bottleneck somewhere, so.
Oh yes.
One more or 2 more things, which are getting to the details of the outposts. I'm generally using direct insertions from miners to furnaces. If you
Yeah, I
look
noticed that.
to the top left, it's actually using that even for steel, so that I don't use actually many robots to go with the steel. So basically a lot less than if you went from the miner to a furnace and then from another furnace to the other furnace. I find that to be pretty efficient, but I'm not using it even everywhere, and all of the outposts have generally different designs. There's not really much interesting there. Some of them are belt-based, some of them are robot-based, some of them do all kinds of other things.
Oh, I just found one that makes gears.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I make basically I have on-site smelting. So since gears are a single ingredient product, then I use these as well, and same for steel.
Yeah, I think that's a really efficient way to do it, actually, gain performance-wise.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, exactly. And if you look at the production, I mean, there's 2K steel currently, So that would be what, like almost 100,000 iron plates. That's basically half of the production just goes there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that saves a lot. Yeah. Well, and for example, what is interesting also on the like whole train system here in case of oil outposts is that the oil outpost eventually starts running on very low throughput, obviously, as the oil wells run dry.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm doing is that whenever, like, I'm actually reading from all the pump checks the resources left. I think I don't do it on all outposts, but on a lot of them I do.
Right.
And what it does is that when it drops under some completely arbitrary threshold, then the station disables itself until the storage tanks have enough to load the full train. So basically what happens is that if the outpost isn't producing much, it's going to be invisible until it can actually load something. So it means that the trains don't continue going there until it's really useful, actually.
Yeah, that is definitely.
Good detail, yeah.
You've been playing my map. Mine does the same thing.
Does it? Oh, that's cool.
Who's still whose idea here?
Well, honestly, I saw the map. I have to admit that I didn't notice this over the huge train stacker and everything there. But...
Wow. Well, this is amazing. This is just so cool. I'm really glad we got to have a tour. Thank you so much for showing us this.
You're welcome.
It's just so fascinating.
Can I bring in the workforce and fix it now?
You're gonna be here for a long time, Will.
Or short.
Yeah, or short. You could just nuke the whole thing and start over.
There's so many belts. I tried to follow one and I got lost.
Yeah, I got lost too. It's cool, dude. It's like a little treasure hunt.
It is.
Yeah. Next time you checked your inventory.
Yeah, thanks for the 30 pistols.
You're welcome.
Even on someone else's map, come on.
Chat told me to.
I don't like your chat.
So,
Yeah. But at least the base makes pistols. We know for sure now.
and
It's a good test.
It makes everything. It's just.
Exactly.
I think this factory is a better make everything than Mojo's.
Oh man, yeah, Mojo.
That's a big claim.
Yeah.
that's
Well, it makes everything.
Yeah, let's just import this into our maps. We need to make everything.
I have to design my own belt base to make everything now.
There you go.
All the train stations for importing. You can easily just connect it to any other map, decreasing the UPS by 50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by a ton. I mean, that's pretty standard though on our map, so we're just doing it a bit early.
Yeah.
We could also see if we can find Madzuri's old lag machine.
Is it
That could
the
decrease UPS even further.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna have to go get some dinner and stuff, but this is just super awesome. When a rocket's launching, I'm gonna watch this.
Even automated the artillery targeters.
I know, man.
Yes.
It's so cool.
I even make the discharge defense remotes.
Oh God. Not those.
You don't have to make those.
Yeah, those don't count.
Yeah, one thing that I'm quite proud of is that the satellites actually don't have their own dedicated production. It's just some accumulators, some solar, some rocket fuel, some low density structures. In the end, they actually kind of are dedicated, but they go from the outsides of the base. So even for this 6-ingredient thing, I still managed to bring all the belts through the whole base, which was really hard.
Oh yeah, I bet. For sure.
I think that's the fun.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I'm gonna run. Thank you again so much for showing us this.
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
it. Yeah, thank you. And I think that'll do it. We will talk later.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Recording's done. I am gonna go. Take care, guys.
See you soon. Right, Come on in, work for us. We've got a job to do.
Got more ducks to build.
Yeah.
Was this an RSO map or a standard map?
No, mostly default. I mean, the settings are basically like low or high or something, but it's the default generator.
Okay. I just like the size of the patches, and they weren't odd varies.
Yeah, I like
Seemed like
this.
some of them
patch.
were a lot.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't really remember if it's like low density and large patches or what exactly is it.
It's
But something in the direction.
They're way too rich for my liking, but I love the frequency and the size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the size is good.
Mm-hmm.
If I could just get the richness down by like
Yeah, whenever
Divide by
I hear
4.
you guys talk about RSO, I kind of see my map. I'm like, why?
But-
yeah, whatever. I mean, use whatever you want.
I've stolen
I
a
feel
save,
like
so I have to have a
it's
look
nice.
at how you. Because yeah, the frequency is perfect. I want this.
Yeah. One thing that I'm kind of sad about is that when you see, for example, the top left outpost of the steel, they've got like, I don't know, 120 million or something like that. Some of them.
Yeah, that's too
And-
much for me.
Like, right now, it just feels completely pointless going towards any other direction because, like, it's constantly luring me with these high numbers. It's
Mhm.
like, oh,
Yeah, it has 109.
yeah, 109,
Yeah.
okay. So it was 191 or something originally.
Yeah, that's had a pretty decent chunk taken out of it already.
I actually built that not too long ago. I mean, what the hell? Yeah, that's the outpost. They just chew through it.
Mm. I take it it's water only in starting area, or have you just been really unlucky?
Yes, it is.
So your only water on the map is this little lake,
Yes.
a little puddle.
I'm actually even taking water from it and delivering it to at least the batteries, and I'm not sure if anything else. Water drop. Yeah, it's just the batteries. But oh. Because yeah, I kind of already planned it out so that I knew that the refinery would be to the right of the main production cell. Honestly, originally the plan was that the refinery would be more integrated to the main cell so that it would look even nicer by having more of the pipe-related entities. So that's why there is this one on the bottom right of the logo, just to fill these missing parts. But I already knew that I'm going to take the water from the lake to the nearby refinery, so I kind of knew that I will not need it much. Jesus Christ, gun turrets.
It's gun turret ducky.
So,
It's weaponized.
yeah, well, the main point is that I really try to save a lot of time from building by just plopping down the solar cells and stuff like that, for which I actually use the radar range mod so that I can just place things anywhere I want, mostly. And obviously you can, now it's not active as the mod, but in general it gives me enough area that I can just place another cell from each other. Since they have 4x4 chunks, it doesn't always have to be easy. In fact, I see that with this radar range it's actually impossible. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically why I remove water, and also because the landfill by construction robots mod crashed on me, so I didn't even dare to use it. And other than that, I use the cliff deconstruction mod so that I can easily just deconstruct the cliffs. And I think the solar cells even automatically bring cliff explosives, so it's really automatic.
Need to get construction bots to be able to use cliff explosives to
Yeah,
deconstruct.
that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
And landfill.
Yep. If a mod can do it, the game can do it better.
Well, of course, it's able to. It's just about somebody doing it. We'll see. No promises, but we'll see.
Oh, no rockets ready. That was pretty quick.
Yeah, it keeps
Also,
cycling
yeah.
through pretty much non-stop.
No, they're not cycling through. It's a dead end. The only thing that's like there, sometimes saving it, is the chest. But the main reason for the chest is that at least one inserter works non-stop. So that during exactly this time, when all of the inserters going towards the silo are waiting, this inserter actually saves a lot of time, makes the rocket silo be able to produce more in the long run. Because then the inserter going from the chest to the silo is actually faster than the ones from the belt. So I think it's more efficient than just having 5 inserters directly from the belt time-wise. But it's maybe sometimes saving it if it somehow doesn't split correctly between the two silos, so that the system with the 3 different ingredients from one station doesn't deadlock. But it happened to me about twice, and I think both of the cases were when I actually manually deleted something or stopped some belt, or like I did some manual interruption of it. But in general, it seems to work really reliably. I'm almost actually surprised by that.
You can actually see it's behind now on low densities, but they're just arriving. Just at the right time.
It's so hard to observe because it's like a lot of it is on the belt and in a really weird ratios, and the belts have different lengths. So yeah, it's actually being able to tell if it's doing something wrong or not is really hard. But I mean, it loads the rocket, so that's the important part. Obviously, if it does something wrong, then it just deadlocks. But it seems like it works fine.
Yeah, see, it's full up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you see something start to run out, the next item will, if the next lot will appear.
Mhm.
Like you see, rocket fuel now is a little bit behind, but now a whole lot more rocket fuel arrives.
Yeah. I mean, by design of flitters and the station, it should always work, but it's possible that sometimes it gets a bit too much behind and it just gets stuck. But as I say, I didn't really see it happen in a long time. Because I've had this running for, I don't know, like 100 hours or something like that.
It's probably fine.
Basically, through, I don't know, 1,500 rockets at least, or something like that. Maybe actually even since the first one, because I didn't have any different importing system ever, so I guess this was always there.
Can you explain why you've made 12,000 cliff explosives on this map?
Yeah.
How many cliffs do you need to blow up?
A lot of them.
Obviously.
The solar farm, yeah.
Or 4,900 artillery turrets?
Oh,
You never have too many artillery turrets.
it's accident.
4,800 landmines. Who didn't cap the landmine chest?
How peaceful. That was an accident. I don't know, actually. I don't know where they are.
You've made 6,000 energy shields. What do you know?
Well, they're here in the chest. I mean, as I said, I automate everything, and sometimes I don't even cap the chest, or I just keep the cap quite high. So. It's one of the annoying portions of this base is that it has a crap ton of storage chests, and I don't request from them. So there's a lot of items that could be used, but I just don't want to do the requesting. Well, the artillery turret count really surprised me, but I mean, 380 of them is at the solar cells. Some other 50, I guess, or more could be at the outpost, so maybe 100. I don't know.
If you run out, just make more. It reminds me of my old base. I used to do that.
Did you
Just
say
have
something?
an uncapped chest of everything.
That's fine. Did you automate the factorial letters?
I did. The top left of the logo. Top left. But they are just an iron plate. I didn't make the recipe complicated. I was actually considering making it super expensive and take something like rocket parts or something, so it's like you're only able to construct the logo if you're like proven yourself to actually have beaten the game.
Mm-hmm.
And update the mod whenever.
That gives me an idea, actually. I needed a goal. That gives me an idea.
Well, there you go. Oh!
You could have it progressively more expensive as you go across.
By the way, here we have an artifact where I'm standing, and that's basically one of the first burner mining drills on the map, like the cyclic.
I know, I've been past this. The coal. I did see that, and I was wondering what it was doing here.
Yeah, it's there since the beginning. And this is really fun. It's just when you walk through the base, and it's something that you've built, I don't know, 150 hours ago of game time, so in real time it's even more.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really fun, just discovering things.
What UPS do you get in single player?
I think about from 24 up to about 30. Kind of depends.
So we're not much
That's
faster
one of
than
the
this
things. There are only a few things that really kill this base. The first thing is when a biter eats electric pole towards an outpost, then it obviously eventually dies.
I'm glad that you've had that problem, because that is really crippling.
It's really annoying. And the other thing which kills the base is researching artillery shell range. Because immediately as you research it, you drop to about 5 to 10 UPS.
Because all the guns.
All the biters activate as all the turrets start shooting them. And all the train station unlock because they don't have enough ammo. So suddenly, your whole base slows down. The biters start attacking. They usually eat 1 or 2 power poles to some outposts, and that's the real apocalypse. Because it just a slow game, by perception, feels really horrible. And also, they usually succeed at wrecking at least a few of the outposts. So. But honestly, it's one of the things that I'm kind of considering, that biters should probably never really attack the power poles. Obviously, you would need them to not collide with them, so that people can't just build the impervious.
It's interesting.
Wall
I mean, I completely agree. I mean, Zenith has rage quit Factorio about a year ago for that, because of that
specific reason.
And he wrote about probably a 2-page forum post explaining why, supplying examples of it happening.
The thing is that,
and he was told to shut up, basically, because it's not an issue. So the fact that you're saying that is interesting, because I mean, chat, can you see if you can find that forum post? If you could maybe submit it again, or because we lost Zenith because of it.
It was actually really funny too, because on my base I never had biters eating power poles. I'd always go around them. They'd bump into them and just go around.
Your attack sizes are too small, then, Mojo. It only happens if the attack sizes, the group is big enough that they determine it's quicker to go through the power pole than it is to path around it. So if your attack groups are too small, you won't get it.
Zenith also had biters right at the gates of his layout.
Yeah, he didn't clear. But then, that's just I mean, we had it on what playthrough was it?
Oh, yeah. It's one of the other SpaceX ones that happened all the time.
And Megabase Revival. It keeps happening.
I mean, I didn't basically hear you for the last 30 seconds or something, because I don't know, something cut off in the voice. But whatever. I guess we are still talking about the electricity being eaten by the biter.
Yeah, we're just saying that it only happens if your biter attacks a bit of a certain size. If they're small, then they will just go around it.
Oh,
but if
it's possible, because it's really weirdly random and it's super annoying. And the thing is, to me, from the main concept, is that in general, the only real mechanic how to avoid this is building a huge perimeter, which honestly should never be the only option, because it's really annoying to do and you constantly need to move it when you want to expand. Just clearing the large area is annoying. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to find something that, like how it would work really properly, that they wouldn't just attack it. I
Zenith
think
had
it's possible.
Zenith had an idea of making the power pole hitbox smaller, a little bit smaller, so the biters could get around it.
I think it should be just they just always can walk between them, and they never attack it or something like that. So, I mean, I think it's possible to balance it in a way where it's not like stupid, where people would just build power poles around their walls. Well, we'll see about that.
My hope is that once, with the PvP stuff going on, once that's balanced out, then the changes can be pushed back into biters.
Yeah. Let's see.
Because that would balance out the combat for everything.
Well, I mean, the thing is...
Well, we're talking combat in general too there.
I mean, the thing is that it's kind of irrelevant how hard the biters are. Like, a little bit harder, a little bit easier, it doesn't make a huge difference. Like, especially once you have the late game stuff, it's always going to be kind of the same. In the early game, either going to be more annoying or, well, kind of the same. So, I think it's... Like, I don't think even if we balance the PvP, which obviously we're going to do some changes, I don't think it's going to influence much in the like free play type of game.
It's another person, Zenith.
Yeah, come on, chat. 154 people here. Google, more Googling. I can't remember if it was Reddit or the forums, or both. But I know he was told that basically it's not an issue, go away.
Sounds like something Clonard would say too.
Either cloning, I think it might have been our seeding said, what was he said, protect your shit.
It's entirely possible. But well, as I say, I mean, it's not like there's any kind of like uniform consensus about this. It's just we need to talk about it. If we want to do something about it, then we'll see. But honestly, like seeing that there's a bug report and somebody rejected it doesn't usually mean that much.
Yeah.
Or at least it's not completely conclusive. You can very easily do something else.
Yeah, that's it. We've got it in chat now if you want to take a look at it.
I'm not at their stream.
Oh,
is it at the Discord thing?
Yeah, I can put it in there for you. I put it in our one that we've been using.
Because I was trying to reduce the amount of stuff.
I put it in the thing if you want to look at it later. It shows the biter path thing as well, and how they determine that they want to go around it, but they can't, so they decide to go through it.
You actually see there's one spitter that is just like, screw you, power pole.
Yeah, exactly. That one thing as well. It's annoying. So yeah, I definitely recognize this problem because honestly I think it's a major problem whenever you play with biters, because really until you have artillery trains, it's basically unsolvable. Otherwise you would just have to clear a huge area around the tracks. And even with the artillery trains, it can still happen sometimes. It hasn't happened to me honestly in a long time. So once you get past some amount of range that you have on the turrets, then it basically never happens that the biters would actually pass through your stuff. Because as you can see on, for example, the steel outposts, none of the biter bases are usually in like serious pollution range or something like that, just because the artillery range is enough. But yeah, until that point, it's just random, annoying, and unavoidable without the perimeter wall on the side. So.
Oh yeah, I spot this earlier. Change the subject. This factory is broken.
Is it?
Yeah, it doesn't get speed module ones. It tries to, but the underground belt doesn't reach.
What?
Oh.
Got him. It's an easy to fix,
really?
but just a
Oh, it just doesn't reach. Oh,
yeah.
Right.
It must have worked at some point because it's made them.
Of course it did.
But something must have happened.
I guess I just rerouted something and just, I don't know. Maybe the explosives came and then I made it longer or something like that. It's actually one of the things that I've read a lot of like replies to this kind of bases that people usually say, okay, next base I'm going to build, and I'm not going to remove a single item. And that's totally not the point. It's actually quite the opposite. Like almost every single thing was placed down and replanted again, or like many of the places at least, because you just need to find the place for the underground belt, and then you need to rearrange it a little bit, and this goes on top of the other thing instead.
The rearranging is what makes it.
Exactly. I wanted to kind of mention it. Like, it's basically impossible to do this without removing anything. So, to all the people, if you ever actually try to do something like this, like, don't be afraid to remove things. Obviously, not with the reconstruction planner in a huge scale, but just one by one. So it's good. Yeah, this part, when I'm standing now, is actually the old part of the factory. You can even see that these are the actual first 2 labs in the game. Obviously, now they are just with the requesters and stuff because they broke the design.
I see the first green circuit factory.
Yeah, exactly.
And probably the first labs.
Yeah, the first green science factory too. There was somewhere a red circuit factory or red science factory too, but I think it got removed. It was probably here instead of the lab.
Quite a long way from your coal.
Chest factory.
Yeah.
Quite a long way from your starting coal.
Yes.
I'm just seeing all these assembly machine ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And wanting to upgrade them to level 3 because we're at level 3 stage.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really ever matter because they never run, especially for these things. But it's nicer just to have at least some things a little bit visually different if you're taking a screenshot of it. Obviously, the more repetition, the more boring the screenshot is.
Mm-hmm.
So at least the level 2s somewhere, level 1s occasionally, but obviously other than that, it's all just 3.
You got to do it for the screenshot.
For the Reddit post, we understand.
Yeah.
The things we've done for the Reddit screenshot that never gets done.
The real question is where the other 6 assembly machine ones are.
Oh
Apparently
God,
like this then.
now there's a challenge.
Or where's Wally assembly machine
Here
edition?
you go. I found
big
some.
challenge even for me, honestly.
I found 6.
Oh, that's all of them right there.
Oh yeah.
Done.
Oh yeah, that's
I win.
because I was using that for the ratio, I think, because I didn't need more, or something like that. I'm honestly not entirely sure.
You
I
want
just
me as
know,
silos? Is Ducky complete? No.
Yeah, of course I make silence. Oh.
We need
Make
to.
everything. There's pistols right here.
I know. I've been feeding them into Exterm. He's got like 30.
The silo was especially fun because again it's just a lot of ingredients and you need to get them from all around the base. Oh, it's actually broken, isn't it? No. Oh, it's fine.
Do you know what blueprint we need to put in this map? 40 stack challenge.
What is that?
It's basically a blueprint of a bunch of requesters for every item in the game.
Feel free to.
Yeah, that'll get your base running.
Yeah, it would actually probably drop us from the camp.
You have 17,000 bots in the network. Yes, it would kill it if we put it down because all your stuff that's pre-crafted would just get put into the air.
I think there's not enough of everything. Like, for example, some of the equipment stuff would probably not be enough.
No, but if it's made, it would get all your belts moving.
Yeah, exactly. All of the machines activating.
Yeah. It would fire up the base.
Yeah, and on top of it, the 17k robots. That wouldn't do any good.
You should do it. Take a save, and then just send it to our CD and be like, "We have UPS issues."
Send it to Kavorak saying, "How dare this base be below 60 UPS?"
Yeah, unplayable, unacceptable. That's what he said, isn't it? We have him on record. But below 60 UPS is not acceptable.
As I said, like, just duplicating things on this map is really easy. So dropping it to 2 UPS would be really not that much of a big deal. And that's another thing. Like, in general, I feel like this whole UPS think, yeah, alright, obviously there. But at the same time, if we just optimize it more, then people just build a bigger base, and obviously optimizations are good. I'm not trying to say anything else than that. It's just that you can always just duplicate a lot of things and just make it a lot bigger. And it's
I
in
know.
the end just about the production number, which honestly is
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because we are probably the worst for that. Just, oh, we have more UPS now. But version 16, I do feel that's been different. I haven't gone nearly as big as we did in 15, for example. But we're still hitting UPS problems. Like, we just finished a really, really biter-heavy map. And it got to the point where we couldn't fight the biters anymore because the lag was just so bad from them.
Oh, yeah. That's
So
annoying.
it's like, I haven't aimed for anything ridiculous.
That's weird.
In
I
16.
wonder how did you manage that? Because honestly, dropping 16 that low, it takes some effort.
It was a ribbon map as well, and the base was only, it was a jumped up starter base.
I've seen it,
Yeah.
few glances.
But
How much atomic artillery were you using?
none, just out of the box artillery. We couldn't fire at them because the biter pathing would just cripple us. I'd jump up to like 300 jumps from the guys firing the artillery at a group of like 8 hives.
I might have a look at that later.
Because it was the biter pathing or the retaliatory strikes from the biters that are now homeless.
If there's a lot of fighters, then I can imagine that.
Yeah, to be fair, it was inflated biters. Because we wasn't happy with what is called max biters these days. So
well, this is basically max biters, but kind of broken, so it would be just a bit more.
Yeah,
But as I said,
this is not max
for
biters.
myself as well. If all the turrets start shooting and all the biters get attacked, it really drops the base also to like 5 UPS. So I can imagine almost quite accurately what it does to you.
Yeah, and it makes you not want to play with the biters, like to have them on. Like the temptation to just run the command to get rid of them and free up.
To me, it's like mostly as I wrote in the article. It's just when I don't automate all these things and when I kind of don't really need them, it makes the base look a lot more boring.
Yeah, because it's just science.
Yeah, because it's just science, the sewing machines, modules, inserters, belts, robots. That's kind of it mostly. And the circuits are already usually done externally. In this base, the science to some degree as well. So it removes a lot from me, and I don't really like that. But I've played 2 bases without biters, and like just the fact that I can suddenly build faster and do everything without the biter restriction, that's pretty good. But it all has something. I'm not saying that one option is worse than the other. Quite the opposite. I think it's quite nice to just change it up once in a while. But obviously, playing with biters should be as much fun as it could.
Yeah, and once you get
some places to improve.
yeah, I think the balancing with like weapons to biters has got better.
Well, it's tons better than it was.
Than it was, yeah, because it used to be just combat shotgun and destroyer capsules.
Exactly.
But now, like flame turret still works. You've got artillery. Destroyer bots are still an option, although it's just expensive these days.
Actually, the destroyer capsule specifically, I don't really care about the price. I mean, at this stage, you don't really care.
No.
But the part that I really hate using them at this point is that the sheer amount of time that it takes for you to fill the, let's say, 100 follower bot count, or currently I think I even have just 50. At 20 UPS, that's just so long, it's so annoying.
Well,
and also, you spawn all of them, and then at the moment when they start despawning, you immediately have to start dropping them down again, because you can't catch up to the maximum count.
Yeah. Chat actually worked that out. As soon as it was added as infinite, we worked out. Someone actually did it. If you click them,
I think it was Can.
Yeah, Can worked out. There is a certain research level that after that you just cannot, even if you clicked perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you might not perfectly click at the
I
tick
mean, you
where
don't need to
it's
click. You can just hold it, but still, like, it's you can't just get past it.
no,
So
because
what
you.
I would like to see is that they would basically automatically deploy from the roboport or from some item in the equipment thing.
I would
There's
love to
something
if
up
they
there.
could deploy from base roboports, so you could deliver them to outposts as a defense.
That's another thing that I
That would be
consider.
fantastic. You know, that'd
Yeah.
really bring them into use, then, wouldn't it? Because you could
Yeah.
deliver them as logistically to an outpost to act as a.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't need to put down lasers and walls. If it was, you know, you just leave a stack of 50 destroyer capsules there, set up
Or
an
just,
alarm
bunch
to
of
deliver
turrets,
more.
and they would come support it. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. But is it going to happen? Well, I don't know. It's not that likely.
Some
Someone mod
kind
it.
of combat bot to go with the logistics and construction.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Would
I
look
was
cool.
already considering that before as well. I would like that, but whether it's one of the priority things that we're going to do soon, I don't know.
Do you think it could be
Eventually,
modded?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not a programmer, so I don't really understand
Oh,
or see like the possibilities of the modding things exactly. But I'm not sure if I didn't see somewhat like that. And if you already see like the robot army mod, like that just really, like really to me, like things that I wouldn't imagine that are just, like changing a few values and stuff. It already has some code or just something smart. So I would imagine that would be, but I don't know. Like I don't have any knowledge to back this with. I'm just guessing mostly.
Because that would be more. That would give a use for those destroyer bots more than.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, there was too, wasn't there? There was combat bot towers. That mod.
So you could, instead of towers, we can make it roboports, and it still
No,
only
it's not
lasts for that.
automatic.
Oh, yeah, actually, colony, maybe. No? Something.
Oh, looks like we're about to run out of space pots in the labs. No, come back. We need another launch.
Well, I mean, it's not that uncommon, right?
Oh, they're out of high tech actually.
Yeah. Oh, the main bases. I don't really understand why the blue circuits take so long to come. But that's why the high tech is packed up. Okay, the trains just are somewhere. Probably the blue circuits too. Yeah, there it is. Just waiting.
Oh yeah, the comment earlier about the power poles, I mentioned that before, where it's a bit concerning that there is a few locations where there are gridded poles, rather than just a more natural, random, tangled mess.
What do you mean?
Like it was the Green Circus where it was all gridded. It was
Oh.
the only, and I think you said the rocket control units as well.
Yeah.
It had a grid of power poles instead of everything being at an angle.
Yeah. It was kind of weird in there, yeah. So. Yeah, that's substations for you. Yeah, it's the combat units from Clonen, right? This thing.
Huh.
I think the issue there was that they basically automatically deploy, and if there is not enough of them, then they kind of infinitely deploy and they kind of waste a lot of resources for you because they don't really achieve much. Eventually they just die. But other than that, it's a nice concept. It's really cool. And if it was done properly, then yeah.
Yeah, I reckon they should deploy from the robots if something's damaged. Like if it's just a laser turret firing, then that's fine. They don't deploy. But as soon as something gets damaged, they go, "Okay, right, we need to go help."
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so it doesn't constantly scan the area for everything. But
Mhm.
the damaged items actually
So,
requested.
kind of like where a construction bot would go and get a repair pack, a destroyer capsule would go be like, I need to go help.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
But then it would always be like, how many does it send? It might need to send 10,
Yeah.
depending on what's attacking.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it would be that easy to do, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, it also occurred to me, if you wanted to get military packs in, you could have the purple packs somehow alternate with military.
Yes.
Couldn't you do the whole lab supply thing with just one belt, and then you have like they take turns, like you do the parts for the silo, running down in the labs.
You could, but I think. Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah.
Send
But,
100 red down, and 100 green on each side, then the blues.
For the labs, I just prefer this. It's much more reliable.
Shrek Guy's been doing that with his current playthrough.
Actually, in the super old base, I had a sushi belt for the labs, but I got rid of it. I hated it so much. I actually did the whole game with it. Just when I started rockets, I replaced it with eventually this layout. It lasted for a long time. I didn't really want to spend time just rebuilding it for no reason. Also, I'm sure you noticed the idle reactors here at the bottom right. So eventually, they were actually leading to heat exchangers and turbines in the place of the labs. Well,
Just some abandoned reactors.
yeah, I just left them there just to include the nuclear entities, and then I also built one like under the logo or something. But that would be another thing that I kind of wanted to do originally. That I would have like little 2x2 or singular reactors in the middle of the base, and then just the rest of the stuff would be built around it and like weaved together. So it would be really integrated there. I think that would look really nice. It would be like tumors of little things that are on the whole factory. But, well, next time, I guess.
I didn't actually notice that second silo.
I did. I did. Is it? I haven't seen it launch. I don't think. Is it functional?
I guess the science packs are still enough in the chest.
Still emptying.
I think it starts when it's under. Is it like under 3K?
Oh, it doesn't actually have any satellites in it anyway.
Yeah, that's because of the blue circuits. Yeah, it is.
Seems like blue circuits need more fastering. That's twice they've
Yeah.
been holding up.
I simply need another production cell for them, or maybe even more green circuits.
Is the
at this
train
point.
okay? Is that?
That's fine. I think it could be that I might be running on some outposts. Like when I see how dry a lot of them are, I think it's pretty much that. I think green circuit productions are sometimes not getting enough.
Yeah. All the rocket part trains are all here now.
Well, those are ready, but I don't know. Honestly, from quick eyeballing, I can't seem to figure out what the bottleneck right now. The green circuits seem to be plentiful some of the places.
I think it's itself. I know on my one I needed 2 or 3 stack inserters putting greens in.
Well, I think that's okay. I think the machines are mostly running. Yeah, not all the time, but actually, somewhat.
You see what Zoe put? For the love of God and all that's holy, don't tell me about sushi belts.
Well, in general, I think if I just duplicated the cell, it will work better. But yeah, I'm not going to do that. How have you done that all of the trash stations in the solar farms activated? Oh, not all of them. I will just blame you. That's okay.
Blaming Stem, he's not here.
Oh, okay. I think I know mine. Oh, there. It's because I mass deconstructed trees and cliffs. Because I'm using the squeak through thing. So when I place the solar blueprints, the trees stay there. So I just deconstructed a large area so it still goes there.
Still clearing it.
Yeah, the trash train is not that fast for it. But there's just one.
Right, I'm afraid I might have to shoot. I need to get to bed. It's starting to catch up with me, so...
I think we've talked about pretty much everything that
Yeah,
is here.
it's an awesome base, and I'll probably start fixing things. I just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
The atomic bomb factory.
I'm already equipped. I've got 10 nukes standing by.
Well, if it will make you happy, you can do that. I honestly don't care about this thing.
No, it's
I
fine.
have my own on the disk.
Yeah, it's okay.
Alright.
Right, thank you very much. I'll see you soon.
Thank you as well. Have a nice
Cheers.
time.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Alright, thanks guys for watching. It's been great. I'll put this up on YouTube in case you missed the start or something. Let's see, who can we host? I was going to do Retro Factorio afterwards, but I'm feeling pretty tired and I've got an early start, so I'll just catch up on my sleep. I don't normally stream on a Saturday anyway. Right, I'll host Mr. Clowntown. I don't think there is a save replay, Alex, sorry. Right, thanks guys. I'll be on tomorrow night. I'll probably do Retro Factorio tomorrow night. Yeah, if you had to watch the VOD as well if you didn't see the stream. Well, guys, thanks a lot. I'll see you soon. All the best. Bye for now.